Hello there, Shortcuts. This is Stephen here. This is video 2 for the price list for Shortcuts, which will go out this Wednesday, the 23rd of October at 9 p.m. Sydney time sharp. If you would like to be on the price list, drop me an email at shortcutsrecordsaus@gmail.com. This is the classic rock, space rock, prog, soundtrack, and pop list. And there's a bootleg in there as well, which is very unusual for me. All right. It was pretty obvious where I wanted to start this week with this list. And it's this little known record, Wish You Were Here, 1975, Pink Floyd. Their 9th studio album. It'll be 50 next year. And mark my words, everything that you've seen happen to Dark Side of the Moon with all the various shenanigans of its 50th anniversary will happen next year for Wish You Were Here. So, I've not talked about Wish You Were Here on Shortcuts before, so now's the first time. So why have I led off with this? Well, this is the UK first press. So there's the cover. You need to see a few things. The rounded sleeves on the inner, and then finally, of course, the postcard with the serrated edges. And the album is on the UK label, and it's in beautiful condition. So, a UK first press of Wish You Were Here. If you go into the blogosphere and you talk the talk with those who know the know around Pink Floyd vinyl, you will often hear the UK first press of Wish You Were Here is the place to go. There's a couple of people who argue about there's an audiophile half-speed version. The Japanese first press, certainly I would argue the case on the Japanese first press. It's easier to find a fantastic condition Japanese first press than it is to find a great condition UK first press, which is what we have here. So, is there a difference in the sound? I think there probably is. But I'm so tuned into the Japanese first press now that I'm reluctant to let it go. The UK first press, man, I can hear what people are saying. I'll put it like that. What does that mean? It means it's awesome. It just is. All right, so the pressing's great. Let's talk about the record. When I listen to Wish You Were Here, the word that springs to my mind is tension. The band had just seen an absolutely stratospheric event happen with Dark Side of the Moon. They had toured for 2 years in each other's pockets. It must have been so intense. And you can hear that, I think, in this record. Weird things happen to them. At some point, there's this incredible story of how the tapes that they had recorded with some of these tracks just disappeared. I can't even remember the details now. Oh, I remember reading about it at the time, a while back, and just thinking, wow, they were arguing various factions within the band. And they were still arguably getting over what had happened to Syd Barrett. And so this record has a tension in the music and the lyrics too. You know, if you have a song that has a 4-minute synth atmospheric lead in that brings you to this little 4-note guitar motif, and only then do you hear what you expect to hear as Pink Floyd if you'd been a Dark Side of the Moon fan, there's a tension in that. The lyrics to the title track, "Wish You Were Here," are a challenge. The way they split "Shine On You Crazy Diamond" into two monolithic halves, and that second, the continuation of "Shine On You Crazy Diamond" at the end of the record sounds a lot more contemporary and filled out and more Pink Floyd than the first chunk of the song that opens the record. They have a guest vocalist on "Have a Cigar," Roy Walker. Sorry, not Roy Walker, Roy Harper. Roy Walker. For those of you who know who Roy Walker is, you'll be amused by that. So it's got something to it. I suppose you're on your way to, Pink Floyd being Roger Waters' band. What I love about "Wish You Were Here" is that you can still very much hear the influence of David Gilmour. It's got something to it, though. It's a beautiful record, and so it'll be very interesting to see what this most commercially minded of estates, the Pink Floyd estate, what they will do in 2025 with "Wish You Were Here." In the meantime, if you would like a lovely UK first press of those original tapes in really nice condition, now's your chance. There won't be many, especially in Australia. Super hard to find. The Australian "Wish You Were Here" is not bad. It's pretty good. It's very rare to get a bad Pink Floyd vinyl pressing. They're just so inured and so in line with what works with vinyl. And so that slow build up, the dynamics, the kind of plodding nature in some respects, the rhythm, the kind of the fact that you're not driving your system to try and replicate drum rhythms, etc., that are complex, means that it just works. The warmth just seeps out. Although there are parts of this record that are cold and distant. So it's not my favorite Pink Floyd. I can appreciate it more than I can love it, I think. It's not as quirky as some of the records I love, like Metal. And even though I'm not a Roger Waters acolyte, I can appreciate Animals. That's got something. But "Wish You Were Here" often dukes it out with Dark Side. It's peak Floyd. So I'll be very curious, whoever grabs this, what you make of it. All right, probably more to come on "Wish You Were Here" at some point. Something similar-ish, I guess. Hawkwind. "In Search of Space," Hawkwind's second album. This is the US first press. Now, in the first list, I spoke about connecting with someone who has the most beautiful collection of records in immaculate condition. And you're going to see some of them on this list. From Canned Heat and from Hawkwind in particular. Now, this is the US first press. Now, you can probably see there's something strange going on here. So what it does is it folds out like so to kind of give you some lyrics and some weird quotes and general Hawkwind craziness. Also the 5-man band members who changed a lot. In fact, the band members pretty changed by the time this record came out. And then folds out into this business, which is so Hawkwind in fantastic condition. And then on the back, those of you who might know your Hawkwind lore, that looks to me like a rather, I guess, psychedelic image of Stacia, their nude dancer. Certainly looks like she's nude in this to me. And on the top was a quote: "Technicians of spaceship Earth This is your captain speaking. Your captain is dead, and the dead is like an umlaut over it. So, Hawkwind. I really love this record. It's kind of amateurish in places, but also, man, does it have some driving kind of krautrock rhythms. Master Universe, Just Me. I think it is well worth your time. It's actually a lot of fun, and you can really hear the influence that it had on and has on a lot of music, like Mars Volta and others as well. It's a lot of fun. It's really interesting. And this US first press is absolutely beautiful. Hawkwind, In Search of Space. Many lists of that record in the top 50 British rock records of all time, and deservedly so. Now, it is very rare that you will find a bootleg on my lists. It is usually if it's a band of intrigue, like a Led Zeppelin bootleg. There may be a Pink Floyd bootleg or two to come in future lists. But you're not going to be expecting this bootleg that I'm about to show you. And part of the reason that I'm okay with putting it on the list is I played it and it sounds really good. In fact, if you told me this was an official release, I'd quite happily lap that up as the truth. It is this. It is Alanis Morissette, Jagged Little Live. Side A, Concert dans Soir, Paris, France, the 2nd of March, 1999, which was broadcast on French FM radio. And then Side B, Dusseldorf, Germany, 19th of November, 2012, which is a little bit, after that, 13 years after, broadcast on FM radio in Germany. And so you get all the classics. Thank You, Hand in the Pocket, You Ought to Know, Ironic. Actually really nicely pressed. Even to the extent, they've even made the label look legit. It's got its barcode, and it's actually a really nice package. It sounds good. If you're an Alanis Morissette fan, have a crack. We were playing Alanis here today because my little girl and my wife went to see Olivia Rodrigo out at Kudos Bank Arena on Friday night. And when we were having breakfast on Saturday morning, I was saying to Ailish, Olivia Rodrigo probably likes some Alanis Morissette songs. And Ailish was like, who's Alanis Morissette? So we started to play some tunes. All right. What about this? One of the great soundtracks. The soundtrack to the John Hughes movie Pretty in Pink. With Molly Ringwald et al. If You Leave, Orchestra Maneuvers in the Dark. Left of Center, Suzanne Vega. Get to Know Ya, Jesse Johnson. Do What You Do, In Excess, Pretty in Pink, The Psychedelic Furs, Shell Shock, New Order, Round Round, Bellowy Sum, Wouldn't It Be Good, Danny Hutton, Bring On the Dancing Horses, Echo and the Bunnymen, and Please, 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 Let Me Get What I Want, The Smiths. This is surely one of the great soundtracks. Beautiful record, great condition. If you don't have Pretty in Pink, get yourself some Pretty in Pink. All right. Now, it happens that there are records on my list that I don't like. And there's one coming up that I don't like. But I'm going to set some context. When Jeff Buckley passed away, I had a series of friends who were really into Grace in my university household. And that record got played a lot. And from the first time I listened to it until the last time I listened to it, which is a long time ago, I loathe that record. I found it overindulgent, starchy. I found that he couldn't edit himself. Even a song where I liked the first half, like The Last Goodbye, I hated the second half because I was like, why do you need to go, "Ooh, what's the point of that?" I thought the cover version of Hallelujah had its moments. I kind of liked some of I Like Wine. But as a whole, I've never owned that record. I never will. I think it's horrible. But I know that my opinion is in the minority. And I've got some friends who are very, very cool music fans who love that record. And so, it's just personal opinion. It was only recently that I listened to this record for the first time. Tim Buckley, Star Sailor, 1969. You can see the clip. This is a US first press. This thing is seriously hard to find in Australia. Here's the insert. The records division of Bizarre Inc., Suite 1700, Los Angeles, California. This is, I think, his fourth or fifth record. He'd been making records for a while, folk singer, of course. But this is the record where Tim Buckley became Tim Buckley. The record where his 5 vocal range does not sound familiar. Like Father, Like Son was exposed and I guess became its own phenomenon at the time, 1969. Now, there is a song on here where it works, and that is the track that closes the first side, and it is called Song to the Siren. Just over 3 minutes long, spare acoustic guitar. You will hear how Jeff landed on some of the acoustic guitar, it's not an acoustic guitar, it's electric guitar, but a spare electric guitar. And that really reminded me of some aspects of Grace by Jeff. It's a really, really arresting melody. And it was covered. I first heard this song because of the cover version that was done by This Mortal Coil in the 90s. A great cover version. But the original is a fine song, and I can totally understand why it's loved. And, Tim Buckley produced this record, so he deserves a huge amount of credit. He produced something pretty legendary. The problem is the rest of the record, which I just find to completely unconscionable. I can't listen to it. I can't do it. It is like, it's amazing. It is, I feel like this, I feel the same way for Star Sailor by Tim Buckley that I do for Grace by Jeff Buckley, which is weird. Am I somehow, I don't know, reflecting Jeff? I don't understand it. From the very first track, Come Here Woman, I'm like, what are you doing? Just sing. Why do you have to do what you're doing? The last track, Down by the Borderline, it's almost music hall, and it's maybe palatable. Maybe. Most of the rest of it, I don't know. I know people love this record too, and so I have to put it on the list because there are people who have this list on this record on the list of greatest records of the 60s. That it's a classic, and you really look at him. You look at that. That's Jeff, right? Isn't it? It's absolutely incredible. But man, I can't stand this record. Jeff / Tim Buckley This is Star Stealer / Grace. All right, I'm going to filter through the rest of these pretty quick. I have an Australian-only Rolling Stones Curiosity. Only released in Australia in 1981. Mono versions of a swathe of classic Rolling Stones songs on the Silver and Black Classic Decca label. Fortune Teller, Poison Ivy. There's a song on here where Mick Jagger sings in Italian. It actually sounds really good. You can't always get what you want in mono. Man, it is worth having just for that. Get Off My Cloud. Everybody Needs Somebody to Love. All in mono. What a weird curiosity that is. Australian only release. Okay, we have 2 Japanese presses of great Bowie records. I love Station to Station, and this Japanese first press is in fantastic condition. What an album. Station to Station, Golden Years, Word on a Wing, TVC 15, Stay, and Wild is the Win. I love every song on this, but my dog is called Bowie, and I've got a Bowie picture hanging or about to be hung in my music room, so your mileage may vary. Are you expecting me to say this is one of the best cover version albums of all time? Well, yeah, that's because it is. It's great. David Bowie, Pin-Ups. Okay, I got a really special thing here that I'm offering a pretty significant discount on for someone who might be into this. This is the absolutely full-on verified Australian first press of Bob Dylan's Blonde on Blonde with the original Italian model. What was her name again? My gosh, I can't remember it now. That caused that sleeve to be withdrawn and redone. This is the Australian first press, so it's got all of the little weird stamps that have to be in place. It's in utterly fantastic condition. I had it on sale for 140. You know, if someone wants it for 100, they can have it. Okay, I got 2 Canned Heat records. Specialists in a mellow blues rock groove. We've got Canned Heat Hallelujah. These are both US first presses in excellent condition on the original Liberty labels. Hallelujah and the wonderfully named Historical Figures and Ancient Heads. I love Canned Heat. This is a great gatefold as well. Not very expensive, in incredible condition. Really, really cool, mellow records. All right. We have, I think, one of the great kind of, I guess, ANZ compilations. The very best of Split Ends. This is in really nice condition. I put it on here just in case someone might be missing it from their list. Many of you know how much I love this record. This is On the Beach by Neil Young. And you'll notice this little thing up here. This was an Australian kind of budget release, which I think was from the late 70s. I played this earlier today and I thought it sounded really good. So if you need a cheaper way to get on the beach with Neil Young, which is a really fantastic record, you could do a lot worse. It sounds a lot better than the digitized represses that I've heard recently. And then very last thing, I love this. I get it all the time, but it's great. This is the Japanese first press of Madonna's Like a Virgin, still in the shrink wrap, in immaculate condition. If you need a bit of 80s pop goodness, you could do a lot worse. There you have it. The classic rock, space rock soundtracks and pop playlist. If you would like to be on the email for the price list, drop me a note, shortcutsrecordsaus@gmail.com. Subscribe, like, leave a comment. If you disagree with me, please pick a fight. I won't be offended. Thank you so much if you've made it this far. See you all later in the week.